Foreign Minister of Iran has deplored piracy performed by United States military into Venezuelan oil tanker. Violations of international maritime law will not be tolerated by Iran and other responsible members of the international community. Iran is a major ally of Venezuela, which supplies newest generation weapons and drones capable of sinking various kinds of United States Navy legacy vessels, as already demonstrated recently by Yemen at the Red Sea. Other enemies of Venezuela include Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana, which are in a rush inviting United States military into their countries so that they can initiate regime war change against Venezuela. If any United States attack arrives from the territories of Guyana or Trinidad and Tobago, retaliation from Venezuela will be forceful. We should be seeking peace and Latin American and Caribbean integration, and instead, neighbors such as Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago are escalating the conflict by siding with hostile United States. Foreign Minister of Trinidad and Tobago dared to insinuate that Dragon gas deal is still open, while many weeks ago, Vice President Delcy Rodriguez clarified that the executive board of PDVSA, Petroleum of Venezuela company, decided to suspend gas agreements with Trinidad and Tobago due to United States hostilities against Venezuela, as deployed by Trinidad and Tobago territory as if they were an aircraft carrier. A new radar in Tobago is operational, and both airports, Piarco and Crown Point, which are civilian airports, are now being used for United States military hostilities against Venezuela. Therefore, Venezuela is not interested in petroleum and gas deals with a hostile neighbor seeking to please an enemy. Pretensions of the Foreign Minister of Trinidad and Tobago of seeking by force Dragon gas suggests that ultimate motive of Trinidad and Tobago is to contribute to the regime change war fomented by the United States to break Venezuela's constitutional order and install a puppet regime that would provide facilities for Trinidad and Tobago and United States in looting Dragon gas Venezuelan resources, which should not happen as Venezuela is determined to continue fortifying with the help of Russia, China, Iran, and Alba countries. It must also be noted that PDVSA issued a statement deploring cyber informational attack against its computational systems. Fortunately, the attack was limited to administrative computers, and most sensitive production processes for gas and petroleum extraction and commercialization domestically, as well as export into the international markets, have been functioning as usual. This cyber attack occurred just a few days after acts of piracy based in Trinidad and Tobago, which hosts helicopters and United States Army and Coast Guard units. Therefore, we may see complicity of Trinidad and Tobago in piracy. Reckless war attitudes of the United States are causing emergency issues to United States airlines such as JetBlue, which almost collided with United States military aircraft departing from Curaçao while it was using the airspace of Flight Information Region Curaçao. FAA had already warned that Flight Information Region Curaçao could be dangerous, although not as dangerous as Flight Information Region Maiquetía. However, Flight Information Region Maiquetía has been working wonderfully, and we have had no accidents or incidents to lament. However, United States war against Venezuela for looting our petroleum, gas, and rare earth resources so that they can have some collateral to support their 38 trillion domestic dollar internal debt is not looking to succeed. Venezuela is determined in defending its territory through its military and diplomatic alliances. European Union is also deplorable, as they are in the business of imposing unilateral coercive measures, better known as sanctions, not only to Venezuela, but also to our main ally, Russia. Venezuela stands with Russia in deploring and reminding the international community that economic warfare has not been authorized by the United Nations Security Council, and the objective of the European Union and the United States is to choke Russia and Venezuela and Iran so that we can no longer export petroleum, and so that we install in our countries puppet governments that will rule for the benefit of United States and Europe elites rather than Iranian, Russian, or Venezuelan nationals. European Union, however, is a declining, obsolete power with no sources of income, as they were used to extract wealth from colonies that have become independent. Declining industry in countries such as Germany is exacerbated by sanctions to Russian gas, which does not provide cheap energy for German manufacturing, and Germany needs to import expensive gas from the United States. And of course, funding the Ukraine war has been prohibitively costly for Europe, which has not been useful militarily, as Russia looks set to conquest of Ukraine. Russia continues, along with China, diplomatically rooting for Venezuela on our defense against United States war. Every day we receive encouraging signs that significant military help from our allies is on its way or has already arrived. As usual, Venezuelans are expecting a United States first strike so that we may forcefully retaliate. It is still unclear if the first United States strike will come from the Caribbean Sea or from Trinidad and Tobago or from Guyana. In any of those three cases, protocols of defense will be adequately used. Venezuela counts with regional allies as well from the Alba Bolivarian Alliance of Countries, which met via video conference meeting on December 14th, 2025 to commemorate 21 years of its founding in Havana, Cuba by former Presidents Fidel Castro and Hugo Chavez. Speakers included President Nicolás Maduro of Venezuela, President Díaz-Canel of Cuba, President Daniel Ortega of Nicaragua, Prime Minister Roosevelt from Dominica, Prime Minister of St. Lucia Pierre, and Foreign Ministers of Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Grenada. All of them sounded happy. Their meeting was enjoyable. They discussed various historical, petroleum, agricultural, electrical, regional cooperation issues, military deterrence against United States aggression, which is threatening Latin American and Caribbean countries, has been unanimous. We may conclusively determine a rift between Caribbean countries within Alba against Caribbean countries that do not belong to Alba. The Caribbean should remain as a zone of peace, but Caribbean is no longer a zone of peace as it is infested of military equipment of the United States that must be repelled or destroyed. Foreign Minister of Grenada, in particular, detailed the extreme pressure Grenada is receiving from the United States for the installation of a radar as if it were Tobago or Puerto Rico. Grenada so far has resisted. Grenada has also addressed the vicinity with Gambia in Africa, which is only a 5-hour-and-a-half flight from St. George Maurice Bishop Airport. Prime Minister Roosevelt from Dominica expressed the importance of deterring United States invasion into Caribbean countries, and he asked for regional resistance. Foreign Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines stressed out that it is his first time in an Alba meeting and he supports continued participation in our alliance beyond a transition of parties in power in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, while the Prime Minister of St. Lucia stressed out the continuity of St. Lucia's efforts of regional unity through his recent re-election. The foreign minister of Antigua and Barbuda impressed everyone with a thorough command of the Spanish language, even though he also spoke in English. All of them condemned United States piracy against tanker transporting oil from Venezuela. Blockade against Cuba was denounced. A note was made for Cuba to be removed from the list of terrorist organizations, as specified by the Department of State of the United States, and enhancements to regional cooperation such as agricultural Alba and blue Alba for issues concerning climate change and fishing should continue being developed and improved. Air connectivity between various of our countries was also discussed, and a spirit of collaboration as opposed to competition that is usually seen in other summits. United Nations seems to have failed. Organization of American States seems to have failed. CELAC, Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, also seems to have failed. CARICOM, Caribbean Community, also seems to have failed. However, Alba is thriving. Alba was usually the Cinderella of regional integration networks, and Alba is resulting the most successful alliance. Since the very start of the Venezuela-United States war in late August, Alba has consistently met by video conference and diplomatic notes, and every week or every 2 weeks they issue updates in communiques in both English and Spanish, deploring United States interventionism and reasserting that Caribbean and Latin American countries are defined as a zone of peace. Next few meetings, however, may include the possibility of some common defense strategy for Alba, as it has become increasingly clear that if we do not defend ourselves as a cohesive group, United States will seek to continue looting our natural resources and interfering in our domestic issues. We should now look forward to results from the United States Senate summoning Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, as they will be required to answer multiple questions from angry senators who require detailed information and legal basis for strikes against fishermen in the Caribbean, which continue being regarded as extrajudicial killings or war crimes. Unfortunately, sad news are being received from the Eastern Pacific Ocean that yet another fishing speedboat has been destroyed by United States invading forces, killing all crew members on board. United States is a rogue state, committing piracy and murder. United States was supposed to be a superpower, but they are a super looter and super killer. They have no respect for foreign property, and they have no respect for human life. United States regime must be confronted globally. It seems like the rest of the planet is increasingly arriving to that conclusion. However, to completely deter United States from being evil might require World War III in exactly the same fashion as World War II was needed to stop Adolf Hitler Nazi from conquering the planet from Nazi Germany. Nowadays, Nazi United States is trying to invade Latin America and the Caribbean, while Alba countries of Latin America and the Caribbean have made it very crystal clear that we will not allow ourselves to be invaded. We are sovereign countries. We have a fabulous alliance of peace, love, and international understanding and cooperation, and we count with military support from Russia, China, and Iran. While the United States is by itself because the European Union NATO allies have become irrelevant. Chile has chosen Cast as its new president, while Honduras remains in a post-electoral crisis with no results available from elections that were made many weeks ago. Brazil seeks to remind United States that South America should not be invaded. Initial rapprochements between the governments of Brazil and Venezuela are being scheduled after more than a year of significant tensions. It is our hope that as more Latin American and Caribbean countries realize the threat of being invaded by the United States, they will distance themselves from warmongering in order to favor peace-loving community efforts proposed by Alba countries. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Dominica, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Lucia, and St. Kitts and Nevis, along with Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, are from now on the leaders of Caribbean and Latin America, and it will be our responsibility to convince the rest of the region to abandon warmongering for the cause of peace. Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana have chosen the wrong side of history. They are allying with an invasive enemy that seeks to control an entire Western Hemisphere, and previous joint development of dragon gas that was supposed to be between Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago will now be favored for a partnership between Venezuela and Alba or BRICS countries. In these times of artificial intelligence and media saturation, true friendship and stable alliances such as Alba that stand the test of time and continue meeting in virtuous consensus and debate are set to prevail. NATO is a disaster. European Union is a disaster. The success of Alba that unites countries that are all threatened by United States intervention, and still those countries are able to function cohesively as a group is impressive, especially after comparing with other organizations in other parts of the world, which for the most part have failed.